Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So the topic today is getting over the intermediate plateau. If you have been in the language community for a while, you have most likely heard of this infamous intermediate plateau. And if you're currently on the intermediate plateau, I feel you. So today I am going to share with you what has helped me to get over this plateau with German and what I am doing right now to get over the plateau with Russian. So the method that works for me the best is what I would call the fake it till you make it approach. So when you're on the intermediate plateau, this is the time to dip your toes in native materials. But you might ask, native materials are designed for C1 and above, right? How am I supposed to understand if I'm only on B1? And I agree that the level of language will not be comfortable and it will almost feel frustrating when you feel like you have to look up every other word. But this is a brilliant way to expand your passive vocabulary, and this method will allow you to immerse yourself in the target language. So let me explain in more details what I mean. Let's say you have a B1 level textbook and your textbook covers a wide range of interesting topics, but they might not go into as much detail. So your textbook serves as an excellent guide to tell you which topics you should be able to discuss at this level. Like for example, my Russian textbook covers topics such as healthcare, education, and environmental issues in Siberia, for example. But in each chapter, they only give us a short text and a couple of dialogues. So what I am doing right now is I find websites written by native speakers for native speakers on these topics. So for instance, for the topic healthcare, I looked at how the healthcare system in different countries works and who works at the hospital. And I also learned a bit about specific professions within the healthcare industry, like what paramedics do or what medical physicists do. You will feel a bit out of your comfort zone with the level of the language, and that's natural. But it's also hugely rewarding when you realize that you can read something. Maybe not everything, but something that is designed for native speakers. Isn't it important when we learn a language that we must get out of our comfort zone? So usually reading native materials is easier than listening to native materials. But I would also recommend listening, even if you only understand 40 to 60%. Because being exposed to the language does wonder to your pronunciation. So even if you don't get a lot out of the audio materials, it will still pay off in the end. My next tip is to be patient with yourself. So when you just start a new language, there is a lot to learn and everything is exciting, and because you still remember so vividly the time when you only knew a few words, you may feel like you're making a lot of progress. At the intermediate stage, you are still making progress, but the progress might not seem as obvious. So here is when we need to remember that it takes less time to go from a complete beginner to basic than it does from basic to lower intermediate. So let's look at the recommended study hours for some of the common European languages. According to the Goethe Institute, it takes 350 hours to go from 0 to A2, but you need an additional 300 hours to reach B1 from A2. And according to the Cambridge English Language Assessment, it takes 200 hours to reach A2, but you need to spend the same amount of time to go from A2 to B1. And the same goes to French. So we can see that it's natural to feel that progress is slower, but this doesn't mean that you're not making progress. My next tip is to keep this language as a part of your daily routine. So when we feel that progress is slower, we may be tempted to start a new language, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's also so easy to spend more and more time on this new language, and eventually the original language just sort of drops off our radar. So here are a few things you can try to keep this language as a part of your life. You can journal in your target language I cannot recommend this highly enough because this was the most helpful thing that helped me with German. And at the intermediate level, this is also when you should start considering language exchange. This is when you should start having lots of conversations in your target language. If you're anxious about speaking, I have also made a video on this topic, which I will link in the description below. I hope you have found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments if you're currently on the intermediate plateau and what has helped you. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram.